Last night, during an interview with New York Sports, an important clarification came from UFC President Dana White regarding the organization's future with pay-per-view events. While the new broadcasting deal with Paramount has certainly shifted the way fights will be delivered to fans, Dana made it clear that the UFC is not completely abandoning pay-per-view. Under this new partnership, most fight cards will be part of the Paramount programming structure, likely making them more accessible to a wider audience, but there will still be room for one-off pay-per-views when the right circumstances arise. Dana emphasized that one of the things he loves most about the fight business is its unpredictable nature. He explained that even though the UFC can map out an entire year's schedule in advance, the sport often produces unexpected moments, whether it's a shocking upset, a rivalry brewing out of nowhere, or the sudden rise of a breakout star. These scenarios can completely change the company's plans and force adjustments. In Dana's words, "You could do a one-off pay-per-view. This flexibility ensures the UFC can still capitalize on those massive fights that demand the grandeur and revenue potential of a pay-per-view platform." Dana also took a moment to remind fans that he'll be on pay-per-view this Saturday, underlining his point that pay-per-view is far from dead. From the way he's speaking, it appears the UFC will now treat pay-per-view events as premium showcases, reserved for fights that have true blockbuster appeal. This raises an interesting question. What exactly will a typical UFC Paramount card look like? Without the traditional pay-per-view model driving every event, there might be less pressure to stack every fight night with multiple high-profile matchups. Instead, Paramount cards could lean more on competitive balance and rising talent rather than focusing entirely on star power. The UFC might use these events to build up new contenders, experiment with international markets, and give fans consistently strong but not necessarily overloaded fight lineups. On the flip side, when the promotion decides to go big, for example, a historic title unification, a long-awaited grudge match, or the return of a global superstar, those fights will almost certainly be funneled into the pay-per-view format. That would allow the UFC to market them as special must-watch occasions and justify the premium price tag to fans. While there's still uncertainty about exactly how this new broadcast era will play out, one thing is certain: fight fans are going to be watching very closely. Change always comes with curiosity, and UFC loyalists will be eager to see whether the Paramount model enhances their viewing experience or alters the feel of a typical fight card. For now, the takeaway is simple: the days of monthly pay-per-views might be gone, but the pay-per-view concept itself is not dead. Instead, it's evolving into something more selective, strategic, and event-driven. In a sport where anything can happen at any time, that unpredictability might make these rare pay-per-view nights even more exciting than before. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we'd truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Moving on to UFC 319 Fight Week, one of the big storylines is the prediction coming from Michael Venom Page, and he's siding with Khamzat Chimaev to get the win over Dricus du Plessis. As the betting favorite heading into this blockbuster matchup, Khamzat has a lot of eyes on him, and MVP is firmly among those believers. Speaking in an interview with Fred Talks Fighting, Page gave his own breakdown of the stylistic clash. He admitted that while DDP's fighting style can often look messy, it's impossible to argue with the results. Regardless of how the fight unfolds, Dricus always seems to find a way to win. Page acknowledged that du Plessis is tactical, skillful, and clearly a fighter who puts in the work at the gym. But he also noted that DTP's fights often look chaotic and unpredictable, a style that can be difficult to prepare for. Despite this, Page has had the rare opportunity to watch Khamzat train up close, and that left a strong impression on him. He described Chimaev's talent and physicality as undeniable, and if he had to put his money down, it would be on Khamzat to get his hand raised on fight night. Still, MVP made it clear that it's never wise to count Dricus out entirely. The South African champion has built his career on proving doubters wrong. But in his eyes, Khamzat is going into this fight with an intensity and preparation level that's on another level. That includes bringing in a specialized cardio coach to work on what's known as explosive nervous system training, a method designed to maximize quick burst power, reaction speed, and overall endurance. Cardio has been a topic of debate for Khamzat in the past. Some fans have pointed to moments in his fights where his gas tank seemed to fade, but judging by his preparation this time, that may no longer be a weakness. If Chimaev's stamina matches his explosiveness, he could be even more dangerous than before. On the other side, despite holding the belt, Dricus enters UFC 319 as a comfortable betting underdog. Speaking with Shaquille Majori, DDP made it clear that he doesn't care about betting lines in the slightest. "The only thing I care about is winning," he said bluntly. In his view, numbers on a sportsbook have no impact on the reality inside the octagon. Fighters make fights, not odds. Dricus also addressed a narrative that's been circulating in MMA circles, the idea that he's become everything Khamzat was supposed to be. DDP shrugged off the comparison, saying that the only reason people see it that way is because he's built different, a mindset he believes sets him apart from anyone in the division. Both fighters bring perfect UFC records into this showdown, Dricus with 9 wins, Khamzat with 8, but the champion insists their paths to those records couldn't be more different. All of this makes UFC 319's main event one of the most anticipated and unpredictable matchups in recent memory. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall has fired back hard at Cyril Gane's coach, the outspoken Fernan Lopez. Lopez has built a reputation for his blunt and often controversial trash talk, and this time he set his sights on Aspinall. In recent comments, Lopez labeled the heavyweight champion a big mouth and accused him of spreading misinformation about Gane in his camp. Aspinall didn't hold back in his response. In his words, Lopez's opinions are completely irrelevant and carry no weight in the grand scheme of things. "Nobody cares what he has to say," Aspinall remarked, making it crystal clear that he isn't interested in trading verbal jabs with Gane's coach. He also took the opportunity to throw some shade at Gane himself, openly stating that he believes Gane should have lost his fight to Alexander Volkov, a bout that Gane won on the scorecards, but which Aspinall feels the judges got wrong. When the inevitable topic of John Jones came up, Aspinall brushed it aside entirely. He told fans to stop obsessing over that matchup, saying that his focus is locked 100% on Cyril Gane. "We're fighting in October. That's all that matters," he told Ariel Helwani. Aspinall made it clear that all the outside noise, from speculation about negotiations to hurt feelings to the constant stream of interviews, doesn't matter in the slightest. "On fight night, both men will take their shirts off, put on gloves and settle it in the cage," he said. Aspinall is no stranger to big moments. In fact, some of his most devastating performances have come when the pressure was at its peak. With the heavyweight title on the line and tensions between the two camps rising, he's promising one of his most dangerous performances yet. For him, October 25th isn't just about defending his belt, it's about making a statement to the entire division. While all eyes are on the Aspinall-Gane showdown, another headline-grabbing moment came from none other than Conor McGregor. The former two-division champion reacted to the UFC's new broadcasting partnership with Paramount in true McGregor fashion. After a tweet surfaced highlighting his legendary pay-per-view record, 8 events over 1 million buys with a combined estimated total of 14.3 million buys, McGregor responded with, "Goodbye UFC pay-per-view. Proud to serve as king." It was vintage McGregor, part boast, part farewell, and a reminder of the impact he's had on the sport. For years, McGregor was the face of the pay-per-view model, driving record-breaking sales and setting a standard that may never be matched. Even as the UFC moves toward a new era of broadcasting, his legacy in the PPV game remains unmatched. With McGregor making headlines, Aspinall sharpening his focus, and Lopez stoking the flames of rivalry, UFC fans are in for a heated build-up to October. And if Aspinall's words are any indication, Fight Night could deliver a fireworks-filled performance that keeps the heavyweight division buzzing for the rest of the year. Michael Chandler has now shared his thoughts on the UFC's blockbuster Paramount announcement, and according to him, the news completely caught him off guard. Chandler admitted he was extremely surprised by the choice of partner, saying that Paramount was nowhere on his radar as a potential landing spot for the UFC's next major broadcasting deal. Like many fans and analysts, Chandler assumed the organization would end up partnering with one of the more obvious streaming giants. "If you had asked me a week ago, I would have said Netflix, YouTube TV, or Prime Video," Chandler revealed. With today's crowded streaming market, there seemed to be an endless list of possibilities, but few predicted that Paramount would be the one to secure the rights. The surprise wasn't just about the platform, though. Chandler was quick to point out the staggering financial leap this deal represents for the UFC. Their new agreement is reportedly worth an incredible $7.7 billion, a massive jump from the $1.5 billion deal they signed just 5 years ago. In Chandler's eyes, that's not just a win for the promotion, it's a win for everyone involved in the sport. He believes this deal will elevate MMA across the board, impacting everything from fighter exposure to sponsorship opportunities and, ultimately, fighter pay. "The rising tide raises all ships," Chandler said, quoting the old expression to highlight how increased revenue and visibility can benefit the entire roster. With Paramount's reach, Chandler expects fighters to be seen by millions of new viewers who may have never tuned in to UFC events before. That wider audience, he argues, could lead to bigger paydays inside the octagon as well as more lucrative endorsement deals outside of it. More eyes on the fighters means more value for brands, and more value for brands means more potential money for athletes. Chandler's enthusiasm for the deal was obvious. "I'm pumped up about it," he said, stressing that while some fans might still be adjusting to the idea of the UFC leaving its previous distribution model, he believes this is the kind of bold move that pushes the sport forward. In his view, the UFC's partnership with Paramount isn't just about changing where fights are broadcast, it's about positioning MMA for the next decade of growth. With the ink still fresh on the deal, fighters like Chandler are already thinking about what this new era could mean for their careers. And if his optimism is any indication, we could be looking at one of the most transformative moments in UFC history. However, not all UFC headlines this week have been about multi-billion-dollar contracts and broadcasting deals. One of the most talked about stories involves Alex Pereira, who appeared laser-focused on reclaiming the light heavyweight title from Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 320, but is now facing renewed questions about his commitment. Leading into their first fight, Pereira was widely criticized for what many viewed as a distracted training camp. In the weeks before the bout, he was spotted traveling, attending parties, and posting social media updates that showcased more of a superstar lifestyle than the disciplined grind fans expect from a fighter in the biggest match of his career. Critics argued that this lack of focus directly impacted his performance, and may have cost him the fight. After that loss, the narrative began to shift. Pereira appeared to rededicate himself to training, cutting out distractions and going all in for the rematch. For months, everything pointed to a renewed and locked-in mindset, until now. Recently, Pereira posted a behind-the-scenes video from the set of a movie in which he's playing the villain. While it's undeniably a massive opportunity outside the cage, the timing has sparked debate. Some fans are quick to defend him, arguing that filming a movie doesn't necessarily mean his training will suffer, especially if the commitment is short. Others see it as déjà vu, worrying that history could repeat itself, that Pereira might once again enter a title fight without being fully locked in. Former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping weighed in on the situation, stressing the immense pressure on Pereira heading into this fight. In their previous meeting, Ankalaev not only outstruck Pereira, he beat him at his own game, effectively neutralizing his dangerous stand-up. Bisping pointed out that Pereira looked hesitant throughout the fight, a costly mistake against someone as disciplined and composed as Ankalaev. While Ankalaev is not a Khabib-level wrestler, Bisping reminded fans that he still has enough grappling skill to keep opponents guessing. That constant threat forces strikers like Pereira to fight more cautiously, which in this case seemed to blunt his offense entirely. The result was a frustrating night that saw Pereira lose not only the fight but also momentum in his career. Adding to the uncertainty, Bisping mentioned that this could be the last time we see Pereira in the UFC. The former champion recently had a very public meltdown on Twitter, expressing frustration over something that didn't go his way. He's even hinted at the possibility of moving to karate combat or trying his hand at professional boxing. Considering Pereira's career accomplishments, financial success, and global recognition, a decision to walk away wouldn't be shocking. For now, though, the attention remains firmly on UFC 320, and whether Pereira can silence the doubters, block out the noise, and reclaim his belt from a man who's already bested him. From Dana White's insistence that pay-per-view is alive and well, to MVP's bold prediction for Khamzat Chimaev, to Tom Aspinall's war of words with Cyril Gainescamp, to the business-shaking Paramount deal, and now the cloud of uncertainty around Alex Pereira, the MMA world is overflowing with storylines. The stakes are high, the personalities are larger than life, and as always, the fights will answer the only question that matters: who wins when the cage door closes?